Part 23. Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 224. No problem with pricing, you can trade. Sutinyu was gearing up and couldn't wait. 125 minus 64.9 equals 60.1 W. Tisk tisk, Seeing doesn't really want to give her so many game coins, does he? Although if you cash it out directly, you can only cash out 90%, but there are still hundreds of thousands. Chibubi, there is a binding game prop placed in Seeing's warehouse. It is a blue mysterious grade and is a stick weapon. If you are interested, you can trade it. Binding game props? Or the blue mysterious grade? Sutinyu's interest was really piqued. As for Chibubi's later emphasis on stick weapons, in the dungeon, when Sutinyu used the Misty Stick, Gucci was present. Therefore, this was probably Gucci's idea. Sutinyu, send me the information about the game props. It has to be said that Gucci really figured out what Sutinyu was thinking. Because there were no higher level weapons yet, Sutinyu suffered a small loss in the dungeon. Although the sickle has endless potential, you need to gather the upgrade materials first. The stone tablet is a functional game prop, which can be used occasionally. However, if it is a group fight, there is still no special weapon to use. Therefore, Sutinyu urgently needed a high-grade weapon to bridge the gap between high-grade weapons before the sickle was upgraded. In fact, the original rare-grade Piao Miao stick is pretty good. But now that there are higher-grade stick weapons in front of them, the Piao Miao stick suddenly doesn't have much flavor anymore. After waiting for about 10 seconds, Chibubi sent the information about the game props, and Sutinyu clicked in to check. Props, Meteor Rod, can be bound. Level, Blue Mystery, can be upgraded. Function, it is said that this is a 2.5 meter long stick made of meteorite iron. It is invulnerable to water and fire. It can break stars and stir up Jijiang. It can be extended or reduced at will, up to 10 meters long and as short as 10 centimeters. Durability, 100%. Note, do you believe it, I can blow up a planet. Wow! What a stick from Long Aotian. The introduction of the function is very cool. In addition, this is a bound game item. As long as the binding is successful, other players cannot use it. Moreover, the bound game item cannot be exploded by death in the dungeon. Sutinyu happily asked the price. What is the price of this prop? Chibubi, 25W. Sutinyu's eyes lit up. Now she is considered wealthy and does not feel expensive at all. Chibubi, this item can be upgraded. Senya has collected some upgrade materials. Do you want to trade them together? Sutinyu blinked, feeling something was wrong. However, driven by curiosity, Sutinyu continued to ask, what is the price of the materials? Not much, there are only two types of upgrade materials, a total of 320,000 game coins. Sutinyu. Meteor Rod and upgrade materials. 25 add 32 equal 57 W. After deductions, the final game currency that is directly cashed out is 60.1 minus 57 equal 3.1 W. You can only get 90% of the 3.1 W that you cash out directly, which means you finally get 2.79 W of game coins. Well, it's not that 2.79 W is too little, or it suddenly changes from hundreds of thousands to 27,900. This gap is a bit big. Sutinyu went to see the materials that the obscene meteor rod needed to upgrade. After reading it, I came to a conclusion. Very good, there were a lot of materials that she didn't understand, but she knew at a glance that they were all expensive materials. Alas, I have to collect another wave of materials. Fortunately, even without upgrading, the current level of the meteor rod is enough to deal with most problems. Sutinyu, can trade. Chibubi, okay. Next, the two signed a transaction contract under the notarization of the panel system. In Sutingyu's inventory, all the game items within the scope of the contract were transferred to Chibubi's inventory. The bartered game items and 2.79W game coins were also successfully transferred to Sutingyu's panel. Transaction complete. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 225. After the transaction was over, she was happy to get what she wanted, but when Sutingyu saw that there were still a lot of obstructive game items in the inventory, she felt a headache. Depend on. You guys are so stupid, why did you pick up so many? If it cannot be resold, the panel system can only be recycled at 20% of the price or refurbished to decompose half of the raw materials. No matter which way it is, you won't make any profit, you will still lose a lot. The kind that made her heart, liver, and lungs hurt. Chibubi, Angel Su, what do you plan to do with the remaining game items? Sutingyu, well, maybe find other players to trade with. Chibubi, Seeing has some relationships with some alliances or big teams if you need it, Seeing can help you be an intermediary. Sutingyu, is there such a good thing? Chibubi, if you just trade with other organizations, the pricing may only be around 70% to 85%. In addition, you need to charge an intermediary fee of 5%. Sutingyu thought about it and thought it was feasible. Although he doesn't earn much, it would be much more convenient if Seeing is responsible. Sutingyu, okay, I'll also send you the information about the bronze and ordinary grade game items, please excuse me. Chibubi, you're welcome, this is a matter of mutual benefit. Sutingyu began to sort out all the game items that he didn't need, including the pet collars and keys that he had obtained in the trapped beast dungeon, and sent them all the information. After sending it, Sutingyu suddenly felt relaxed. 5 minutes later, Chibubi sent a new contract. The general content is what Chibubi just said, Seeing is responsible for helping Sutingyu trade game items. After the transaction is successful, 5% of the transaction amount will be charged as an intermediary fee. After Sutingyu confirmed that it was correct, he signed the contract and sent all the game items that needed to be traded in the inventory to Chibubi. It still looks pleasing to the eye. Sutingyu took a look at his inventory that was no longer crowded and felt relieved. By the way, there are also tokens. Sutingyu now has 8 tokens, 2 of which are conchas and candies, and the other 6 were found in the amusement park of the dungeon. They are all tokens of the same type. Keep 3 pieces for yourself, Chin-Chi and Fatty. The remaining 3 pieces can also be traded. When trading tokens, it is best to exchange them for another different token so as to maximize benefits. Sutingyu remembered that they had spent a day in the hotel during the last period of the dungeon. They should be able to find the token, right? Will it be a different token? Sutingyu entered the content in the input box and clicked to send. Assistant Chi, I have 3 extra tokens here. Do you have any extra tokens? If they are different tokens, can they be exchanged? Redundant. Sutingyu blinked his big eyes. As the well-informed and calm second-in-command of the criminal justice system, Chibubi's ellipsis and question mark should, probably, maybe, not be shocking, right? Sutingyu, I have picked up more than 1,000 useless game items. Is it normal to pick up a few extra tokens? Sutingyu clicked her little finger and sent. Chibubi. Chibubi, ahem, what type of token is it? If it is different from the token Seeing got, it can be exchanged. Sutingyu, good, good, good. Sutingyu sent the token information to be exchanged. A few seconds later, Chibubi replied, Seeing does not have this type of token, it can be exchanged. Finally, the 2 parties signed the contract again and completed the exchange of tokens. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 227. The fat man pointed at his own panel. Boss, take a look at the forum. Many players are discussing you. Huh? Discuss about me. Sutinyu opened the forum in confusion upon hearing this. Then, Sutinyu saw a lot of. Who is Angel Su? So awesome. Holy shit, boss. The best person on the hunting list, please pay homage to me. Sutinyu's new friend notification already had a little red dot there. As soon as she entered, she saw rows of friend requests. Some major leagues or teams want to poach people, some players simply want to add Sutinyu, the top boss on the hunting list, and some, still scolding her? Say she doesn't follow martial ethics? Insidious and despicable? Do you want to die a good death? What the hell are they? Sutinyu frowned and cleared all the application information. Boss, didn't you take the first place in the hunting list this time, with almost 30,000 points? The second-placed national warrior Wushuan has less than 10,000 points, so you are famous, the fat man said with an exaggerated expression. On the forum, someone has already posted the ranking and points of this hunting list. Sutinyu was an outstanding player, with more than 20,000 points, far ahead of everyone else. Sutinyu saw Gucci ranked 4th and Qinchi ranked 5th. You didn't do much hunting in the 4th round, Sutinyu asked after seeing the two people's final rankings dropping. The fat man nodded. In the 4th round, because of the threat of the child NPC, we only hunted near the hotel and did not dare to go too far. In addition, our focus was on finding tokens. That's it? Then did you get special items and free attribute points? Fatty, I have a few free attribute points, which are all added to physique and speed. There are no special items. Qinchi, in addition to the free attribute points, there is a special item. After listening to what the two of them said, Sutinyu felt confident. This special item is a reward that only players who rank high on the hunting list can get. Sutinyu has 3 special items, but they have not been opened yet. Her reward for opening the blind box was a bit psychologically shadowy. Wait until one day when you are very happy, then open it again. As for the free attribute points, there are a lot of question marks. What should I add? You can't see it even if you add it, right? Sutinyu complained silently in her heart. Then, in less than 10 seconds, Sutinyu clicked on the attributes panel and added all 6 free attribute points to luck. Suting looked at Lucky with eager eyes. 1 second, 2 seconds. Not a dime has changed. Depend on. Add some spicy chicken. Sutinyu was furious in her heart, but she looked calm on her face. Because there are people around. As a big star and a little fairy, you must always pay attention to your image. Boss, you have so many hunting points, what are you going to redeem them for? I saw that there are a lot of good things in the limited time point redemption mall. The fat man's words brought Sutinyu back to her senses. I gonna go see. There is a time limit for the redemption of points. If it exceeds 24 hours, all these points will expire and become invalid. Sutinyu asked the two of them while browsing the points mall, what did you redeem? I don't have many points, so I have exchanged them all for free attribute points. Fatty mentioned his situation, and then said enthusiastically, Boss, this points mall can exchange for free attribute points. Although the price is very expensive, it can, no matter how much you exchange, you won't lose money. Free attribute points are very rare. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 228. Sutinyu, who was highly recommended by Fatty, thank you, you don't need it. Fat man, I'll give you a game item. Sutinyu, who couldn't bear it any longer, used a killer weapon and sent the fallen angel's feather that he originally planned to give to the two of them. What kind of game item is it? Boss, holy shit. Token, the fat man clicked in to check the information. Within 2 seconds, he exclaimed as expected. While browsing the points mall, Sotignu replied calmly, "Yes, it's a token. I picked it up randomly in the 4th round. I still have one. When there are enough people to trigger it, we will enter this career dungeon together. It is useless to hold all the tokens in your hands. If there are not enough people holding the same type of tokens, you will not be able to open the professional dungeon. Boss, how about I buy it with game currency?" The fat man felt that it was a bit hot to hold the token. This was already the 2nd token that Sotignu gave him. Fatty felt that he had received 2 tokens in vain without doing anything, and he felt a little ashamed and uneasy. "Fat man, it's a token, but it's worth a blue mysterious grade game item? Are you sure you have so many game coins?" Sotignu blinked and asked. "Ah. Then. The fat man suddenly frowned. Seeing this, Sotignu reached out and patted the fat man on the shoulder. "So, wow, you have to cover all my accommodation expenses, water and electricity bills, and food expenses at your place." The fat man's expression was confused at first, and then he realized what Sotignu meant, and he smiled again. Okay, boss, you can live here as long as you like. By the way, we just released the dungeon, how about I cook a meal first?" The fat man stood up and prepared to go to the kitchen to have a big fight. Sotignu's eyes lit up. "Fat man, make more. Get more." Chin-Chi also agreed. "Then you guys wait here first." The fat man walked into the kitchen with a smile on his face. Sotignu continued to browse the points mall. After a few minutes, she saw something interesting. Points-based products, unlock the clothing column. Points, 10000. Function, after the redemption is successful, the clothing bar can be unlocked when entering the instance. It will be automatically changed to the clothing set on the clothing bar. Usage, permanent. Note, do you want to maintain a beautiful, bright, or handsome outfit in the dungeon? Buy it quickly. Chin-Chi, do you know about the clothing section? Sotignu turned to ask Chin-Chi. Chin-Chi was stunned for half a second, and then spoke softly. When each player enters the dungeon, his or her clothes will generally not change. But sometimes, they are pulled into the dungeon at an inconvenient time and have no time to change into suitable clothes. If there is a clothing section, this situation can be avoided. After listening to Chin-Chi's words, Sotignu understood the purpose of this clothing column. But having said that, Chin-Chi's outfit in this round of Children's Day dungeon is indeed not the same as in reality. Chin-Chi, you have a clothing section, right? Yeah. Chin-Chi nodded slightly. Sotignu thought about it more deeply and realized how useful the clothing column was to Chin-Chi. Chin-Chi didn't meet Sotignu before he came out of the villa. Every time he was injured and fell into coma, Chin-Chi would definitely not be able to take it into consideration too much. When he was forced into a dungeon, the clothing column could preserve some dignity for Chin-Chi. Then let me redeem 1-2. With that said, Sotignu clicked on the exchange. If this continues, 10,000 points will be gone. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 229. The clothing section is now available. But it was empty inside, not even a set of clothes, and I had to go to exchange clothes again. Holy crap, a costume costs 10,000 points. Sotignu was shocked when he saw the price of the clothing. It's not expensive. If you exchange it with game currency, you will need at least 20,000 game currency. Chin-Chi heard Sotignu's complaints and spoke again. Hey, 20,000? This game is really a scam. Sotignu clicked on several sets of girls' clothing and checked the information. As a result, these clothes are just like the clothes they usually wear, with no special functions. The only special thing is that no matter how damaged the dungeon was in the previous round, the dungeon in the next round will remain intact, but some durability will be lost. However, the most annoying thing about clothing is that it cannot be repaired. The durability is gone, just gone. Below 20% durability, the costume is completely damaged and cannot be used. At this time, I can only curse the game while exchanging a new set of clothes in pain. Sutinyu exchanged for a blue and white outdoor sports suit for girls, which also came with sports shoes, a sun hat, and a small skull bag. Wow! The 10,000 points are gone again. I really don't want to poke, what a ghost. Sutinyu put the clothes into the clothes column, then looked back at his points, 8,300. What else should I exchange for? Weapons and props? There is no shortage of Sutinyu now. Functional props? Sutinyu thought it was useless and not as useful as her bricks. Upgraded materials? Sutinyu has asked Chibubi to give her priority in trading upgrade materials. At this time, Sutinyu inexplicably remembered the free attribute points that Fatty had been nagging about just now. Stop it! Even if he kills Dahui, it's impossible for her to redeem free attribute points anymore. Carrot, never. 1 minute later. Sutinyu clicked to enter the interface for redeeming free attribute points. How do you exchange this thing? Sutinyu muttered. 1 exchange, free attribute point add 1, 200 points. Second exchange, free attribute point add 1, 1000 points. Redeem 3 times, free attribute point add 1, 2000 points. Redeem 4 times, free attribute points add 1, 5000 points. Redeem 5 times, free attribute point add 1, 10,000 points. Holy shit, when Sutinyu saw the exchange price of free attribute points, he couldn't help but greet him again. Will the price increase if repeated redemptions occur? This points mall is really good at playing. Sutinyu redeemed 4 free attribute points and only had 100 points left. These 100 points can't even buy better game items. However, just don't use it and keep it until it expires. Sutinyu feels a little bit at a loss. So, Sutinyu set the price range at 100 points, and then went to the Liuda Points Mall. After wandering for a while, Sutinyu saw something that surprised her. And the price is just 100 points. Hey. Qinchi, who was next to him, suddenly smiled slyly when he saw Sutinyu. He tilted his head, his eyes slightly confused. Sutinyu exchanged the thing. Then, he looked at Qinchi in the wheelchair with a smile on his face. Kikai. Qinchi blinked, what's wrong? I'll give you something as a gift, Sutinyu chuckled. What? When Qinkichhan was wondering how Sutinyu was going to give him something now, his eyes suddenly widened slightly. Deng Sutinyu took out the fat and white panda he had just redeemed and put it on Qinchi's lap. Hey, how about it? Are you surprised? Although Qinchi was surprised that Sutinyu stuffed him with a giant panda doll, he was even more surprised. No, can you get the game items out? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 230. What are you taking out? Sutinyu blinked his eyes in confusion. 1 second. 2 seconds. Holy crap. I took it out. Sutinyu finally discovered the blind spot. No, can't we use game props in reality? No. This panda doll has no use other than being cute, so it shouldn't be considered a prop. The more Sutinyu thought about it, the more she felt that she could take it out because the panda doll should not be considered a game prop. Qinchi listened to Sutinyu's inference and shook his head slightly. No, game items cannot bring reality, and it does not just mean game props. Sutinyu blinked in confusion, but in the information I collected on the forum before, it only mentioned that game props cannot be taken out, right? What you see is the content of the forum in the first month of the early stage. Qin lowered his head and thought for a moment, then said, the early players all called all game items game props. Later, they slowly know the difference between props, materials, and supplies. Hearing this, Sutinyu blinked his big eyes again. She suddenly remembered that after clearing the ice and fire dungeon, she opened the blind box and opened the scythe. At that time, it was not in the settlement space. It seemed, she took the scythe out of the panel interface. Hiss. Sutinyu frowned, trying to recall the specific situation at that time. Did you take it out? Still haven't taken it out yet? Ouch ouch, forgot. Sutinyu reached out and swiped the panel interface, entered the personal information interface, and tried again to take out the sickle. Sutinyu was nervous, as if facing a formidable enemy. Qin was holding the panda doll. He saw that Sutinyu wanted to try it again and stared at the latter with his eyes. Result. There are no special effects of bueling. There is no earth-shattering vision. It was very ordinary and natural. Sutinyu held a sharp sickle in his hand. Sutinyu blinked his big eyes, extremely confused. What is going on? Qin shook his head, as if he suddenly thought of something, and said, you can't leak out the game items. The abilities of game props are all kinds of strange, and the inventory is more like a portable space with unlimited capacity for each player. In reality, players cannot use both and pose no threat to real social stability. But if Sutinyu is found to be able to take out game items, maybe, no, there should definitely be players interested in Sutinyu. Yes, I understand. Sutinyu put away the sickle, rolled his eyes slightly, and suddenly smiled, except for Kikai, I will never tell anyone else, okay. Qin was startled, slowly lowered his head, and stared at the panda doll in front of him. Kikai. Sutinyu came closer and stared at the panda doll like Qin, then do you like this little gift? Qin couldn't use his wrists hard, so he hugged the soft and fat panda doll with his arms. He nodded lightly, yes, I like it. Hee, just like it. Sutinyu giggled. Although there was an accident during the process, it did not affect the result. Just as Sutinyu was about to close the panel, she suddenly saw a small red dot on the chat interface. When she clicked in, she saw that it was Qin who transferred 300,000 game coins to her. Looking at the time, it was when she was browsing the points mall. Qin, why are you transferring money to me? Or is it 300,000 game coins? Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-K. Chapter 231. Qin pursed her lips lightly, token. Sutinyu was stunned for 2 seconds. After reacting, he understood what Qin meant. Fatty doesn't have that much game currency, but he can provide accommodation and other conditions for Sutinyu to make himself feel at ease. Similarly, Qin didn't want to take Sutinyu's token for no reason, but it seemed that he could only give it game currency. But, Sutinyu lowered his eyes and looked at Qin sitting in the wheelchair. She can't take the game currency. The fantasy repair agent only requires about 900,000 game coins to redeem. Qin's one-time payment of 300,000 yuan was already one-third of the price of the dream repair agent. Sutinyu didn't know whether the 300,000 was just part of Qin's game currency, or all the game currency he had saved so far. But Sutinyu knew better. Qin had saved so many game coins just because he wanted to redeem the dream repair potion to completely repair his physical defects and get back on his feet. Sutinyu asked tentatively, Kikai, why did you save so many game coins? Just give them all to me. Don't you feel bad? I don't have any props. Except for Rise, I exchange all the other props for game coins. 300,000 can be exchanged for a token. It's not a loss. Qin said something calmly. Ri is the name of Qin Chi's ancient bronze sword. Qin Chi, we are good friends. Sutingyu tried to persuade Qin Chi. We are good friends, Qin Chi interrupted Sutingyu and said firmly, just because we are good friends, we cannot have one party keep giving and the other party accept without any bottom line. When Sutingyu heard this, she reached out and rubbed Qin Chi's face hard. Why do I look so much like the silly son of a landlord? Are you still giving in? Snored. If it were anyone else, Sutingyu would never give up until he peeled off several layers of skin. Still giving. Qin Chi's face was like dough, being tossed and kneaded by Sutingyu. Qin Chi could only open his eyes and look at Sutingyu, without struggling to resist or begging for mercy. After rubbing it for a while, Sutingyu let go of his hand and made a suggestion, let's do this, you should treat it like you owe me first. Qin Chi blinked and didn't understand. You take these 300,000 game coins back first, and when you have extra game coins, you can return 300,000 to me. Is that okay? Sutingyu explained carefully. Qin Chi understood this time, and he said, I can give it to you now, no need to. I-oh. Are you sure? Sutingyu stared at Qin Chi with suspicion. Qin Chi looked stunned for a moment. He glanced at his unconscious legs and gradually fell silent. I'm just writing an IOU. I'm not giving you 300,000 yuan. I'm not so kind, Sutingyu muttered dissatisfiedly, but the muttering voice was loud enough for Qin Chi to hear clearly. Okay, Qin Chi relaxed. Hearing this, Sutingyu's expression softened. Let the panel system do the notarization, lest you want to default on your debt later, huh? Qin Chi stared blankly at Sutingyu, who suddenly became fussy, and for some reason, the secret stubbornness in his heart seemed to be insignificant. Qin Chi nodded, yes. Sutingyu drafted a decent IOU. She herself is Party A, but when she wrote, if Party B is unable to pay off the account within the stipulated period, what responsibilities Party B will bear and what compensation it will pay, Sutingyu was in trouble. Because she really couldn't think of anything good to write. So, Sutingyu asked Qin Chi's wishes and received a two-word reply, it's up to you. Sutingyu figured out what Qin Chi meant, took out the IOU, and then sent a copy of the IOU to Qin Chi for his signature. When Qin Chi saw the last content of the IOU, he paused slightly, and then signed his name. The last item in the IOU. If Party B is unable to pay off the account within the stipulated period, Party B will let Party A handle it without any complaints. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 232. In less than an hour, Fatty had prepared a sumptuous table of dishes. Boss, Brother Qin, it's time to start. The fat man took off his apron and found a seat to sit down. When he turned his head, he saw Qin Chi holding a half-human panda doll. He couldn't help but ask doubtfully, this doll, where did it come from? There don't seem to be any dolls here in the apartment, right? Sutingyu didn't know how to explain it. After she and Qin Chi looked at each other, the former thought about it and decided to tell the truth. After all, you have to get along with the fat man day and night, so it's not a big deal if you keep hiding it all the time. After Sutingyu told the truth, Fatty looked confused. Wow. Boss, you are so awesome, the fat man reacted with an excited expression, but he collapsed again within a few seconds. By the way, boss, don't tell anyone about this. What if? If you cause trouble, you'll be in trouble. I'm not stupid, and of course I won't tell others. Casually Sutingyu took a meatball and fed it to Qin Chi, while responding to the fat man. That's good, that's good. Fatty relaxed slightly, and then remembered another thing. Boss, when I first came out, I received a message from Assistant Chi. What did he ask us? When I have time, I would like to invite us to visit Xing's headquarters. Sutingyu refused without thinking. Qin Chi is in such a situation that he can't go. You can reject Chibubi later. Okay, boss. Although the three of them had joined Seeing, Sutingyu didn't want to expose Qin Chi's real situation. Whether Gucci will investigate is another matter. In the game, except for the occasional friction between Gucci and Qin Chi, in other aspects, they get along quite harmoniously. However, Sutingyu was not sure whether this was just Gucci's usual false pretense to make them relax their vigilance. After all, one is number 1 on the hunting list, and the other is 5th on the killing list. When any organization sees them, they try their best to win over them. But sometimes, some people in power are more obsessed with controlling the other party's lifeline than wooing them with interests, so as to drive the other party to work for them. Sutingyu thought for a moment and said, "Fat man, since we have all joined the punishment, we should at least understand the situation, right?" The fat man nodded, "Indeed. Fat man, you are now Gucci's driver. What is your impression of him?" "It's best to be more specific," Sutingyu continued. Although he had gone through a round of dungeons, Sutingyu didn't know much about Gucci. In order to deal with Xiao Xi's investigation of Qin Chi's identity, he had no choice but to agree to join Seeing. But Sutingyu was worried that this was not Qin Chi's safe haven, but another man-eating tiger's den. The fat man put down his chopsticks and scratched his head. "I don't know the boss very well either. The boss looks indifferent, but he is still very friendly to his employees, and he will not criticize them harshly unless the person has made some mistakes." Sutingyu frowned slightly. Sutingyu could more or less feel what Fatty said in the dungeon. Gucci is indeed a good leader who can sometimes pay attention to the interests of his subordinates. However, considering this person, he is very cruel to his enemies, often giving people a sense of oppression without leaving any room. "Is there any more secret information?" Sutingyu asked. The fat man thought about it carefully, and he really thought about it a little bit. "Boss, some of my colleagues once said a rumor that the boss seems to be looking for someone all the time. For this reason, I even gave up business expansion abroad and returned to China for development. Today is another day of hard work. As soon as midnight passes, it's a new month. Can I ask for a monthly ticket for next August?" You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 233. Chibubi raised his hand and knocked lightly on the study door, then twisted the door handle and pushed in. In the study, there was no light on. The curtains were drawn, blocking out the light outside, making it look a little dark. With a calm expression on his face, Chibubi stood in front of his desk and reported the current situation to the man sitting in the office chair. "Sir, this is just sorted out, please take a look at the information about the Qin family and Qin Kishio." Chibubi handed a document to Gucci. Gucci reached out to take it and opened the document. Chibubi's voice then sounded, "The current head of the Qin family is called Qin Tianlang, and he is the biological father of Qin Kishio. Qin Tianlang has married 2 wives. The first one was Qin Kishio's biological mother. Because the 2 wives the relationship was not compatible, the 2 parties divorced, and Qin Tianlang married his current wife, who is the biological mother of the 5th and 8th young masters of the Qin family. It is worth mentioning that the 5th young master of the Qin family is several years older than the 7th young master of the Qin family." Gucci paused while turning over the documents. "How old was Qin Tianlang when he divorced for the first time?" Chibubi replied, "That year, Qin Kishio had just turned 2 years old and was adopted by the old man of the Qin family." "Sir, I just heard some news about Qin Kishio. The Qin family intends to marry the Xiang family, and the marriage partner is Qin Kishio and the Xiang family's eldest daughter." Chibubi paused for a moment and glanced. Gucci's face changed, his voice lowered, and he continued. It is rumored that Siang Dakianjin is too strong and has some hobbies. She has had 12 boyfriends, all of whom were handsome men from poor families and without fathers and mothers. They were all lost to her because they were all there is no power, and some are just alone, so these things will be left alone. After finishing speaking, Chibubi glanced at Gucci's face again. He still showed no obvious emotions, and was even terrifyingly calm. Chibubi lowered his eyes slightly. Check the list first. Gucci closed the document and said. Chibubi was slightly startled. He originally thought that when he met Qin-Chi in the dungeon, Master Ju would unconsciously take sides and focus on investigating Qin-Chi first. Chibubi, yes. Just when Chibubi was about to exit the study, Gucci's voice came from behind, check him first. Chibubi paused, turned around, and nodded slightly, okay, master, please pay attention to rest. Before entering the event copy, Gucci had not closed his eyes for 2 days. If he endured it any longer, Chibubi was worried that something would happen to Gucci's body. After leaving the study, Chibubi reached out and closed the door. At the last crack, he caught a glimpse of the person in the study reaching out and picking up a white medicine bottle on the table. When Chibubi came to the living room, there were several men sitting on the sofa, talking and laughing. When they saw him coming down, they all said hello. Brother Chi. Hello, Brother Chi. Chibubi nodded slightly, and then began to arrange and announce the tasks that everyone was responsible for. Everyone who received the mission left one by one. Finally, only 2 people were left. Brother Chi, who are the 3 people in the event dungeon? A rough-looking man came over and asked. Chibubi sternly refused, don't ask me, we are all working together in prison. You can ask the person involved directly. Hearing this, the man looked depressed, can't I even be added as a friend? How can I ask? You can add more after a while. It's not easy to add now. The man rolled his eyes and asked quietly, Brother Chi, do you still want to find someone? Tisk tisk, who are you looking for? It's been several years, isn't he some kind of confidant? The man looked interested. Chibubi's eyes were helpless, get out. Come on. Get out of here, the man smiled playfully, and then waved to another weak-looking man, Yun Yan, let's go. After watching the 2 people leave, Chibubi turned to look upstairs, but there was no study room in sight. I should be able to fall asleep now. New January, the first day. Today is still a day of hard work. Please subscribe and vote monthly, okay. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 234. Want to play with us? Then give us that doll you have, and we will consider letting you play with it. Huh? Then, okay then. Stand away, let's discuss it first. Okay. The sky was clear and cloudless, and the sun was shining brightly. In a remote and abandoned small park, there were 4 or 5 boys around the age of 10. They gathered under a big tree and started discussing, leaving only one little boy who looked younger. Stood up on the grass without shade, and looked at them from time to time. The little boy's 2 little hands were tangled in front of him, his eyes were very nervous and a little expectant. Ha ha ha, he is just like a little girl. He only likes dolls. Under the big tree, a boy shook the doll in his hand and laughed sarcastically. Someone asked curiously, will he cry like a little girl if he is teased? How about giving it a try? I bet he'll cry in less than a minute. These children did not notice that a teenager was lying on a branch trunk of the big tree. The young man was awakened by the movement below, opened his eyes with a worried expression, and turned his head to look down. Hey, come here. The 4 or 5 boys all raised their heads, and the boy in the middle waved to the little boy very arrogantly. Hearing this, the little boy trotted over. Just as he was about to speak, he saw that a boy had scratched the leather cover of his doll with a knife. The little boy froze on the spot. Tear. The doll was completely torn, smashed, and then thrown carelessly on the grass. Each of the culprits stepped on it a few times in front of the little boy. Ha ha ha, he was dumbfounded. He was dumbfounded. Why aren't you crying? Are you so angry? It's been almost a minute. You haven't cried yet. It's simple, just beat him a few times until he cries. The little boy stood dumbly in place, his eyes watery, only staring at the ball of rag dolls on the grass. That was the only gift his mother gave him. Gone. The little devils gathered around him one after another, with excited expressions on their faces, eager to beat him to tears. It's so noisy. The sudden sound startled these little villains with malicious faces. Who? Up there. Why is there someone up there? Looking for the sound, the little ghosts looked up and looked at the boy in the tree. The young man's tone was impatient and his eyes were sharp and fierce. Get away. Just one glance frightened these little devils who like to bully the weak and fear the strong. At first glance, the boy was several years older than them. Just looking at his height, he was already close to the normal height of an adult. These little guys are obviously a little timid when facing adults or children older than themselves. Hurry, let's go, let's go, let's go. The little devils immediately ran away, leaving behind the little boy who was still standing there in a daze. After a while, the little boy finally responded. He walked over slowly, then squatted down, picked up the fragments of doll cloth bit by bit, and held them in his arms. No crying, no fuss. The boy on the tree watched the scene in silence. Finally, the boy watched the child leave the small park in despair. The young man lay down again, closed his eyes, and sneered in his heart. A silly kid.